Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to another book video. Today's video is going to be my October reading wrap-up video, and it's also my first book video in our new house. If you only watch me for my book videos, then you probably haven't seen that we finally moved into our new house, and I did a full empty house tour, all of the moving vlogs and everything, so I'll link those up in the cards if you want to see any of those videos. But right now we're just talking books. I think I did 10 in October. Okay, actually only 9, but almost 10 because I'm so close to being done with my 10th book, and I'm going to talk about it in this video anyway, even though I'm not done, because I don't think my opinion is going to change. October was also the first month that I ever did a monthly TBR. I never really understood these before. I liked watching the videos, but I had never done it before. My son is yelling in his room, if you can hear him. No more yelling, okay? That's too much yelling during nap time. Anyway, I had my TBR on my phone and I did such a good job. I wasn't able to read everything on my list, but it felt like it was so helpful. Every time I finished a book, I was like, what am I gonna read next? I just only picked from this list, and it made it so easy. The months when I don't have a TBR list and I'm just looking for what to read next, it's so overwhelming, especially when my actual TBR is 5 million books long. So to just have the 15 choices that I picked for that month all laid out for me made it so easy. I only read one book that wasn't from my TBR, but otherwise I did everything from my list. So I made another TBR list for next month, and I'm going to share that at the end of this video. I'm into it now. I get it. October was spooky season, so I read a ton of thrillers this month. The first book I read this month was The Lion's Den. This one was really good. This was kind of a domestic mystery thriller. It's about these two friends who have been friends forever. These two girls who grew up together. They've always been really good friends, but one of them has always been a little bit more materialistic and a little bit kind of manipulative and just kind of the mean friend, you know? The whole book you're kind of following their friendship, and then they have some sort of falling out, but they are starting to come back together because the kind of meaner friend is having a birthday vacation on her boyfriend's yacht. And so she invites her friend to come with on this birthday trip. She decides to go with, and then some stuff happens on this yacht and things get a little scary. I don't want to give too much away, so I'll just leave the description at that. But I really liked this one. It definitely kept me super hooked the whole time. There was so much friend drama, which I thought was really fun to read about. It's just kind of relatable as a girl who was once in high school, you know what I mean? Definitely not on this scale, but the drama was good. There was also just a little bit of romance mixed in there too, which kept things interesting. I really enjoyed this one. I did think that there were a lot of parts about it that were super silly, and you were kind of able to pick the story apart if you tried hard enough, but I was able to overlook those things because of how entertained I was, and I ended up giving this one a 4 out of 5. I feel like the ending was a little bit silly, but I still really liked it. If you love drama and friendship drama and reading about mean girls fighting and stuff, this was a good one. Then I read Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. I have heard so many people raving about this book, and it was really good. This is about a couple, have been married I think for 10 years. They're starting to have some marital trouble, and so they end up going on this weekend getaway to a secluded cabin in this wintry place. I don't even remember where this book took place. Once they get to this rented getaway place, things are getting a little spooky. Some weird stuff is happening that they can't explain, and I'll leave the description at that, but this one was really good. It had a lot of really big twists that I didn't see coming. One of the biggest twists totally caught me off guard. I had no idea that that was gonna happen. Sometimes books, it's just vibes, you know, and this one just did not give me the vibes. It was interesting, the story was good, the twists were good, but I just didn't like it still, and I don't know why. So yeah, I don't know what's up with that, but I only gave this one a 3 out of 5, even though it was good. So I can't say that I don't recommend it, because I think that maybe somebody else would like it better, but it was missing something to feel a really good book for me. But it still was good. I don't know. The next book I read was The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. I had absolutely no idea what this was about going into it. I like to go into books blind like that, but sometimes I'm caught off guard by how weird books are sometimes when I don't actually know what they're gonna be about. And this one did that for me. This one is about a girl who can see ghosts. And I did not know that going into this. So while I was reading it and then I read that, I was thrown for a loop, which that's not a spoiler, that's on the back of the book. I just didn't know that because I never read the back of the book. It's about her losing her dad and having to go home and deal with the like aftermath of her dad dying. She's got like this very quirky family. This book was sad, and it talked about death in a way that started to like give me anxiety. Like I started to get a little like anxious and existential. I don't know what it was about this book, but it like just, it made me sad and anxious about death and like about family dying and about like you dying, just like in the way that it was written about and talked about in this book. It just like made me start thinking about like my parents dying and stuff like that, and I was like, I didn't like that, but I don't think that's the book's fault. I gave this one a 3.5 out of 5. I really liked the romance part of it, and I liked how that all turned out, but it was also pretty heavy and, you know, like I was saying, a little intense. After that, I read The Alice Network by Kate Quinn. I'm in a book club with my friends, and this was our book for this month. Judging this off of the cover, I was not excited to read it. I had also heard somebody else tell me that it was a really boring book, so I went into it thinking it was going to be super boring, and I wasn't excited to read it. I really enjoyed this book. I also think it was really good on audiobook because it is from like a few point of views. This was like a really well narrated audiobook. It's about two different people, a spy from World War II, Eve, and kind of her journey doing her job during World War II and like what exactly like went down. And then also a younger girl, Charlie, who is pregnant and not married, and she is looking for her missing cousin, and they end up crossing paths. It was just really good. I guess this was based off of a few real people, so that was kind of cool to read about too. And yeah, just a good old literary fiction. I felt like proud of myself for liking a book that was just literary fiction. I ended up giving this one a 4 out of 5. I did really like this one, and I do really recommend it as an audiobook also. Then I did another mystery thriller. I read Local Woman Missing. I actually also did this one as an audiobook, and this was another really good audiobook. It's also from a lot of different perspectives, and so you get all of the different voices, and it just makes it really easy to like follow along with the story. This one is about a girl and her daughter who both go missing like 10 years prior, and you have like the husband's point of view, the son's point of view, the neighbor's point of view, and the girl who went missing's point of view. Oh, you didn't get the husband actually. You're just trying to like figure out what happened to her, what happened to her daughter, and you just kind of like see everything unfold over time. It goes like past and present. This was so good, and the whole time I was like, here's who did it, here's what happened. I was like scheming in my head. I was trying to like beat the thriller. Every one of my guesses was wrong. The ending was really good. The twist they threw at you was good. I gave this one a 4 out of 5. After that, I read Still Beating by Jennifer Hartman, and I'm so frustrated by this book because I feel like this book had such a good concept and idea, and I feel like it could have been such a good read, but it just fell so flat for me. Ugh. And the whole time I was reading it, I was just like thinking in my head how this could be better, and like the way I wish she would have like done it so that it would have been better than it was. This is a dark romance book about a girl who gets kidnapped with her sister's fiance. Like she had called him late at night to give her a ride home from a bar because she was drinking. So he comes to pick her up, and they both get kidnapped and chained up in a serial killer's basement. And he holds them captive there for I think like a month, and they are forced to do like a bunch of messed up stuff together. And maybe check trigger warnings if you are sensitive to books like these. They do end up escaping, but they feel like bonded after that experience. Before, they did not get along at all, but after being trapped together in this basement and like going through this horrifically traumatic experience together, they are like bonded and they can't stay away from each other. That synopsis sounds so good, but I hate the way this book ended up going. I just feel like it had so much potential, and so much of it was just used on annoying back and forth that was just so unnecessary. And maybe you'd still like it. I don't want to like say it was awful, but it just wasn't what I wanted from it. You know what I mean? So I gave this one a 2.5. Okay, after that, I listened to The Locked Door by Frida McFadden. This one is so highly rated, and it did not let me down. This was a really good one. Although the audiobook for this was horrible. I would never ever recommend this as an audiobook because the narrator was so bad. I cannot believe that this girl is even allowed to narrate audiobooks because her voice was just so annoying. The way she narrated it, it honestly feels like it ruined the book a little bit. If you're gonna read this one, read it as an actual book. Don't listen to it because it was really hard to listen to. It had a very similar premise to A Flicker in the Dark, which I read last month. It actually had a lot of parallels to A Flicker in the Dark, but I liked this one better. This is about a girl whose father gets arrested for being a serial killer when she is like 11 years old. And then I think it's like 20 years later, similar crimes start happening again with her dad's same MO. And so everybody is like trying to like figure out what the heck is happening. But then the daughter starts looking like the main suspect. I won't say any more than that. I didn't see the ending coming. I was hooked the whole time. After that, I read The Rebel by Sophie Lark. This is her second book in the Kingmakers series. I really, really liked the first book in this series. This one did not live up to that one for me. I did not like this one as much at all. This one was really long. It was like over 500 pages long, which I feel like is strange for Sophie Lark books. I feel like they're usually like on the shorter side, so I was kind of surprised by how long this one was. If you haven't read any of Sophie Lark's books, none of this is gonna make sense to you probably, but her Kingmaker series is, people call it like a mafia Harry Potter type of series because it literally is like a boarding school college for mafia children to go to and like learn how to be good criminals. I hate talking about these out loud because it sounds so stupid, but the books are so good. All the while you're reading about the school, you're reading about the kids of the couples in her Brutal Birthright series. So you kind of have to read a lot of books to get here, but it's worth it in my opinion. Anyway, this book is about Zoe and Miles, and Zoe has a marriage contract with another student at the school that their families had set up like forever ago. So she's already engaged to be married to somebody else, but she ends up falling in love with Miles, which is not supposed to happen. You're watching like their romance, falling in love, but also like how they're gonna try to figure out how to get her out of her marriage contract. And then you're also following her younger sister Kat and her like journey into the school, and she has a whole other story going on at the same time. So while reading this, it just felt like there was so much going on. It felt a little convoluted and like there was just so much to be keeping track of. So I didn't love it while I was reading it, but I'm really excited to read the next one after this because the cliffhanger that they ended this on was so good. So overall, I only rated this one a 3 out of 5, but I'm excited to keep on with the series because I know the next one is going to be really good because this one like had a lot of lead up to it. And then the last book I read this month was another audiobook, another like thriller type of book. This one is Never Saw Me Coming. This is another one that had such a good premise and so much potential, but I just didn't like it. You're following this girl Chloe, who is a diagnosed psychopath. It's about her in college, and she is in a program in college that is like doing a study on psychopaths. It's like her and 6 other students who are all in this study together, but then students in the study start being murdered, and you're trying to figure out why and who did it, which it was really interesting because they're all psychopaths, and so it could really have been like any of them, and they all kind of have motive. So yeah, I felt like it was a really good premise, but I just didn't like it, and the ending was just kind of like, what? It did keep me entertained while I was reading it. The parts from Chloe's perspective were funny because she was just like a total asshole, so I kind of liked reading about her and like her thoughts and stuff, but it just wasn't great at all. I don't really recommend it. I only gave this one a 2 out of 5. This is actually the last book. I haven't finished it yet. I have been reading this one like all month. When did I start reading this? I started reading this on October 14th, and it's the 31st. This has been like the one that I've been trying to finish while reading all of these other ones at the same time. A Love Letter to Whiskey by Candy Steiner. And this one, I recently learned, this is the 5th anniversary edition, and so this is like a double book, which I did not realize. I just chose this one because the cover is cuter, but this apparently is twice as long as the first one because it's the entire book, and then it's the entire book again from the boy's perspective, which I didn't know. I was like, why is this book so long? I've been really excited to read this book because a girl I follow on YouTube, Carrie Reads, she always talks about how this is like her favorite book ever. And so I've been really excited to read it. I'm going back and forth with this one a lot because I do kind of like it, but I also kind of hate it. And it's just one of those books that's like really frustrating. It's a like right person, wrong time type of book about a guy and a girl who meet in high school. They have like this automatic connection. They both are just like so interested in each other, but like their timing is never right. And you're following them over like 10, 15 years where they just like can never get their timing right. And it's frustrating to read. I kept having to put it down because I was just getting like so annoyed. Although I feel like the more you read, the more you understand the characters and you are kind of like, okay, I kind of get it a little bit. They're just like two very flawed people. The girl in this book is definitely so frustrating. I wanted to just shake her and be like, why are you being like this? But I think that's the point also, to kind of like make you really frustrated. So then when I got to the end of the first one and the next one started, I was so mad. And I was like, I don't even want to read the second part of this perspective. But as I've been reading it, I'm glad that I am, because then seeing his side of the story and his thoughts on like what was going on, it's making me like hate the book less and like understand it more. So I'm glad to have that perspective too. I haven't read a lot of books with like the right person, wrong time trope, but I'm finding that I think that that's really annoying. I'm like, it can be the right time, just make it the right time. So yeah, if you want to suffer through people being so frustrating and like not just having a grown-up conversation and like wasting 10 years, this is the book for you. I feel like I'm being harsh. I haven't even finished it yet, but I feel like this is gonna be like a 2.5 to 3 for me. I only have like 20% left, and I just don't think that anything that they could do would make it rise above that rating for me. If I have any major prolific thoughts or changes after I finish reading this, I will talk about it in my next month's reading wrap up or on my Goodreads, but so far I think this one is just gonna be a 2.5 for me. Okay, so that's all of the books that I read in October, but I wanna really quickly also go over my October TBR. I have 15 on my TBR, which is probably a little bit ambitious. The first one I wanna read this month is Scandalized by Ivy Owens, which this is a pen name for one of the two authors who is in Christina Lauren, the Lauren one, I think. I've just seen a bunch of people talking about this lately, saying that it's like a really good romance. And after my whole month of pretty much all thrillers, I just want a few really good, feel-good romance books. I am having a really fun time with thrillers, but you know, I want some good old romance. And then I also want to read Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. I've seen this one talked about a lot lately too. I also have Praise by Sarah Kate on here. Also, after all of the mystery thrillers and everything, I need some good old smut. So I've heard a lot of mixed reviews about this series. I think it's like the Salacious Players Club series or something. And I want to dive into that. I want to go in on that. I also want to read Heartless by Elsie Silver. This is the second book in the Chestnut Springs series. The first one was Flawless, about the bull rider, and I really, really liked that one. I hear that the second one is even better. Also, The Devil You Know. This is the third in a series. Sorry for all the series, but you know, we gotta wrap them up. The first two in the series were both like 4.5 to 5-star reads for me, so I have high hopes for this one. Elizabeth Oark has never done me wrong. I also have After on here. I want to start this series too, and this was on my October TBR, but the waitlist on my library card was so long that I still haven't been able to get it. So I just moved that to this list along with It Starts With Us. I wasn't able to get that last month. It was just too popular, and I'm too stubborn to buy books. I'd rather just wait for them on my library card. So I added that to my November TBR also. I also have 1,000 Boy Kisses on here. I want a good book that's gonna make me cry, you know? I'm feeling in the mood for having my heart ripped out by a book, and I hear that this one can do it. Our book club book this month is I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy, which I'm really excited. I've been wanting to read this because everybody's been talking about this. She narrates her own audiobook, so I'm gonna listen to this one, and I'm really looking forward to that. I also have Sea of Ruin on here. I think this is by Pam Goodwin. I've heard a lot of good things about this one too. It's supposed to be like pirate romance, smutty, good, fun, crazy. Also on here is The Perfect Marriage. I am actually listening to this one on audio right now, and so far it's so good. I started it early, I just couldn't wait. Another mystery thriller on here, I have No Exit. I have heard that this one is crazy, so I'm really excited to read this one too. And then the last two on my list are Yvonne and Snow by Sophie Lark. Back to Sophie Lark talk. I know, if you guys haven't read these, you don't care. This is like the reading order of her books. So you have to do like the whole Brutal Birthright and then the first two in the Kingmakers, and then you have to read these two and then the rest of the Kingmakers. I was bummed when I saw the reading order because, like I said, the last one, The Rebel, ended on such a crazy cliffhanger, and I'm dying to read the next one and see what happens. But Sophie Lark, the author herself, says that you really need to read Yvonne and Snow before you read the next one. So I'm like, dang it. Luckily, they're both like really small, short reads. So I want to try to read both of those this month so that I can read the next one, which is The Bully. I'm really excited. I want to know what's going to happen. But yeah, that is my entire November TBR. Pretty ambitious, but I moved in now, so I think I'll have a little bit more time. And yeah, the very last thing I wanted to share at the end of this video are my super cute new Kindle cases. One of my mama friends on Instagram started making these super cute Kindle cases, and come on, so obsessed with these, so I wanted to share them with you guys. I want to use these. I just need to take my pop socket off of my Kindle so I can stick it in here because it doesn't fit. I love these so much. Her company is called Left on Red Cases, which is so cute. I will link it down below, and you can also use the code ALLIE15 for 15% off if you want to try one. She makes them for the Paperwhite and the Oasis, and she's coming out with a bunch of new colors and designs too. But yeah, that is the end of this video. All of the books I read this month, all of the books I want to read next month. If you guys have read any of these, leave your thoughts and comments on them in the comments below, and let me know what books you have on your November TBR also, or if you have any that you think that I should add to mine. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and follow me on Instagram, and I will see you guys all in my next video.